Virgin Islands Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett says President Biden's State of the Union address portrayed a positive message for American families. President Biden addressed the world Tuesday night in his first State of the Union address. It comes at a time of unrest with record inflation, soaring gas prices, supply chain shortages here in our nation, and war raging in Ukraine. The president, of course, touched on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The president also talked about domestic issues in his Build Back Better legislation. Despite the state of affairs right now, Congresswoman Plaskett says it was a powerful message of progress, positivity, and hope for America's families. Biden also touted the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which Plaskett says is crucial for the territory, which is in need of infrastructure changes and reforms.
I'm particularly pleased with the final passage of the infrastructure bill. It will provide a great deal of funding and resources for the Virgin Islands, including federal dollars to rebuild our roads, improve our public transit system, expand broadband access, and better prepare our infrastructure for the impacts of climate change, cyber attacks, extreme weather events, and the job training necessary for that.
And we'll hear more from Congresswoman Plaskett on the nation's response to the war in Ukraine and how the U.S. is trying to limit the impacts of those soaring gas prices on Friday here on USVI News. Meantime, $22 million of federal dollars are being spent to help improve some of the worst roads throughout the territory. The Department of Public Works received the funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, a $1.9 trillion coronavirus rescue relief package designed to help the U.S. recover from the devastating economic and health effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Areas like the Queen Mary Highway on St. Croix, Centerline Road on St. John, and roads in the Contant neighborhood of St. Thomas are among the locations selected for road resurfacing projects. There are a total of 34 road projects designated for repair, 17 on St. Croix and 17 for the St. Thomas-St. John district. The funding is different from the funding from the infrastructure bill Congresswoman Plaskett was just speaking about. For a complete list of scheduled American Rescue Plan Act funded projects, visit the Department of Public Works website, which is dpw.vi.com. An event on St. Thomas next week will be one of the biggest celebrations of the year, bringing together all women in the community and celebrating International Women's Day. The title of the event is called Perfectly Imperfect. It's honoring all women in the territory and highlighting many women and their accomplishments in leadership and service. VI Senate President Donna Frett Gregory is hosting the event and tells us she's looking forward to kicking off this enormous celebration.
Each year, as I, work as a senator, I realize that it's so important for us to celebrate women in our community because that, our road is just doesn't look the same as the guys in our community. But this year what we've decided to do is to celebrate Women's International Day. And we recognize that as women in the Virgin Islands and throughout the country, we are perfectly imperfect. And what that means is that, while we balance our careers and our personal life, and as we look at younger women in our community, it is important for us to lift each other up. So this year we are doing an event at the promenade, the new promenade on the waterfront, on March 8th, Women's International Day, and we're inviting women to come out. It's going to be an inspirational time where we're going to be celebrating like 3 women in our community. I'm going to keep those as a secret somewhat. Come out and you'll hear who these women are. 3 women in our community, and we have inspirational speakers, women who will talk about their story. Women who are in corporate America, meaning corporate Virgin Islands, but we do have some corporations here who will talk about their story. Because a lot of times we look at women and we think they just arrived. And of course, we all have a story. And then we're also looking at 19 women in our community who are business owners, healthcare workers, lawyers, psychologists, etc., who we are spotlighting as well because we think it's so important for us to celebrate other women in our community.
Wow, it sounds like that's going to be a great event, and I love the title, Perfectly Imperfect. I like it. Well, many of us are watching the Ukraine-Russia conflict on TV like we've watched and learned about wars in years past. But for many more people around the world, we're now able to watch the chilling footage from a war happen in real time right from our cell phone screens. Because of platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Reddit, this conflict has held the attention of a larger and younger audience. Our Kristen Allen spoke with a social media expert about the internet's role in the Ukraine and Russia conflict.
A simple scroll on social media platform TikTok reveals hundreds of videos from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The first time we as a society have ever been able to access so much media from battle as it's happening.
We want to recognize that there is a major role, potentially major positive role for social media to play in all of this, in both supporting Ukraine and helping its people get out of harm's way.
Jim Wirtz, Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Social Sciences at Edinburgh University, says it's too soon to tell what kind of impact social media may play in this conflict. But so far, it's given people more opportunities than ever to stay plugged into the war in real time.
People have more options than ever before to stay connected to the information. Whether people avail themselves to all of the options that are available or make the right choices about the options that they have in front of them is a big question that all media researchers have in front of them, and we're all trying to figure out.
While we have more access to information and first-hand accounts than ever, Wirtz says social media plays an even more important role to people with Ukrainian connections.
I think this is one way that folks both inside the Ukraine and folks outside Ukraine with family members inside are utilizing social media and really any avenue that they can to stay connected at this time. I mean, it might be the most important use that social media has played in a long time.
Kristen Allen, USVI News.
And watching too much of the horrifying war scenes, of course, can be tough to watch. So Dr. Wirtz suggests taking breaks and setting hard limits for how much time you spend on social media, especially watching the conflict unfold. Well, low-cost carrier Spirit Airlines has launched another new route to Puerto Rico. According to the Caribbean Journal, the airline has started nonstop service between Orlando, Florida, and Ponce. It's another boost for a city that continues to grow as both a tourism and investment destination. The new service to Ponce is operating daily between Orlando International Airport and Ponce's airport. Ponce becomes the newest destination in Puerto Rico for Spirit, joining San Juan and Aguadilla. The carrier now operates 8 nonstop routes between Florida and Puerto Rico. The FDA says a baby formula recall is expanding following reports of infant illnesses and a second infant death. The agency is investigating whether the bacterial infections the babies contracted are linked to several brands produced at a Michigan factory. And the growing recall and investigation comes at a time when parents are...
I was panicked. I was crying.
The doctors didn't know what was going on. It was unreal.
Natalie Caselli and Tyler Rowland say in late October they rushed their son Hayes to the hospital after he suddenly spiked a fever and had blood in his diaper.
You could hear it, like the formula going through and it just going straight through his stomach.
Caselli says she fed her baby this Similac baby formula. Just hours later, doctors gave his diagnosis: salmonella.
I just was like, how does that happen?
Fortunately, baby Hayes is now 6 months old and is doing well. But his sickness, as well as many others, have led to a nationwide baby formula recall, which is growing, as the CDC and FDA are investigating whether a powdered infant formula made by Abbott Nutrition could have contributed to the cause of death of an infant, and whether several others were hospitalized because of it.
This is a very serious event that needs to be taken and responded to by families in the healthcare community.
Abbott Nutrition is voluntarily adding Similac PM, both cans and cases, to its growing list of recalled products as parents across the country scramble to find safe options for their children.
Basically, he's allergic to almost all food. We count on this.
Dr. Stephen Abrams, a neonatologist, says a recall adds to an ongoing baby formula shortage, and it's creating a very difficult situation for parents.
But families need to talk to their pediatricians, make sure they understand what the alternatives are.
Abbott says no distributed product has tested positive for the presence of bacteria that caused the infection.
So the challenge is to figure out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Liquid baby formulas are not included in the recall. Health experts say consumers can continue using products which have not been recalled. So for more information on how to identify the recalled products, visit similacrecall.com. A look at Georgia.